welcome to your darling program. Welcome to Abntv newspaper review. Here with me, I have the Punch newspaper and I have the Vanguard newspaper. Firstly, we are going to feature into the Punch newspaper. U.S. meeting African leaders seek Trump's support to develop resources. United States President Donald Trump on Wednesday hosted presidents of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal at the White House in Washington, D.C. The meeting focused on business opportunity as the African leaders sought partnership to develop their resources. According to the Al Jazeera report, during the lunch at the state's dining room, Trump said the leaders hail from very vibrant places with a very valuable land, great minerals, great oil deposits, and wonderful people. He said, there is a lot of anger on your continent. We have been to solve a lot of it, and pointing to recent peace agreement leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda recently signed at the White House. Trump also hinted that the 5 countries were unlikely to face U.S. tariffs. At the meeting, Gabon's President Brice Oligui and told Trump to his country was open to investment and wanted to see its few mineral resources processed locally, which would require more investment. We are not poor countries, we are rich country when it comes to raw materials, but we need partners to support us and help us to develop these resources with win partnership, Ngbana said. U.S. meeting African leaders seek Trump support to develop resources. Another story here with me in the Punch newspaper. Faulty meters, billion errors drive electricity complaints, 254,000 naira. Electricity deposits completions received over 254,000 customers complaints in the first quarters of 2025, and largely driven by grievance over faulty metering, erratic services, and inquiries billing, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has said in its newly released quarterly report. NEC revealed that a total of 254,000 complaints were lodged by consumers between January and March 2025. And marking a 7.72% drop from a 275,681 complaints received in the previous quarters. The top 3 issues reported by customers were reporting billings and services interruption, continuously accounting for over 62% of all complaints recorded. Despite the slight decline in total numbers, NEC noted that post-Harcourt, DISCO received the highest numbers of complaints with 57,843 cases and represented 2.74% of the national total. 40 meters and billion errors drive electricity complaints to 254,000 complaints. Another story here with me in the Punch newspaper for today. Tinubu government seeking excuse to clamp down on coalition, says ADC. The African Democratic Congress has accused the All Progressive Congress-led federal government of plotting to suppress legitimate opposition under the guise of national security and following recent claims to a presidential coup. In a strongly worded statement on Wednesday, the party said it had no intentions of undermining democracy but is solely focused on rescuing Nigeria from what is described as the incredible incompetence of President Bola Tinubu administrations. The party's interim National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, expressed concern over the APC growing hostility toward dissenting voices and questioning the ruling party's apparent discomfort with opposition politics. His remarks follow a statement on X by President Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, who alleged that certain political figures were banded together to overthrow an administration that has been the most transformative in our history. In its response, the ADC dismissed Ononuga's post as irresponsible and warning that such rhetoric could be used as a protest for a wider clampdown on opposition leaders and voices critical local governments. Bayo Ononuga swears is a textbook example of a political dog whistle. The ADC stated that the APC-led federal government appear to be constructing a false narrative designed to justify a potential crackdown on dissent and to criminalize legitimate opposition activities under the guise of protecting national security. And reaffirming its democratic credentials, the party said the ADC is not interested in thwarting democracy. We are solely committed to serving the nations from the unredeemable and incompetence of the government, and the only means available to us is the democratic means. We are not addressed, we are not soldiers, we are politicians. We do not bullets, only bylaws. When the time comes, we will represent our solution and alternative visions of the future to the Nigerian people and leave them to make their choices. Tinubu government seeking excuse to clamp down on coalition, says ADC. The full details of these stories inside the Punch newspaper for today. So another story here with me in the Punch newspaper for today. Federal government electricity subsidy for hospital schools electricity for 1 year after. About 1 year after the federal government promised to subsidize electricity consumed by hospitals and educational institutions in the country, the facilities are still grappling with high electricity debts, the Punch reports. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, who made the promise in August 2024, has since remained quiet with no further actions taken on the promise. This came as industry sources knowledgeable about the development stated that the federal government may not be considering any form of power subsidy for this institution at this moment. A consumer group also condemned the government's silence on these matters and alleging that power ministers only made the statements without the approval of the Federal Executive Council. Adelabu promised to subsidize electricity in health and educational institutions and came aid the rise in electricity tariff and payable by this institution, especially after they were moved to Band A. With the removal of the subsidies in Iran and Band A feathers, the bills of many health and academic institutions triple and making it difficult for them to meet their obligations. Our correspondents gathered that some tertiary hospitals pay as much as 300 million per month to cover their electricity bills. The figure, they said, rose from less than 100 meters before the tariff review. But August 2024, Adelabu, who has not declared his intention to contest for the Ogun governorship election seats, disclosed that the government will subsidize electricity in hospitals and universities, even if they are on Band A feeders. Tinubu federal government's electricity subsidy for hospitals, schools, and exclusive 1 year after. The full details of these stories inside the Punch newspaper for today. And before we come back to the second edition of this program, which is the Vanguard newspaper, we'd like to go for a break and listen to what we have for in our studio. We'll be right back for the second edition of this program.
Discover the uniqueness in the entertainment industry. African Broadcasting Network, ABN, is now the pace setter in the industry. Do you want to advertise your product and services? Count on us. We will do it much more than your expectations. African Broadcasting Network, ABN, will deliver quick and prompt services. Our quality and clarity stands us out when it comes to delivering quality broadcasting. Our staffs are hardworking and versatile in the specific field of office. Our environment is so conducive and we are open to all. We also give advice on how to run your business profitably. African Broadcasting Network is situated at
9894 OSUN Street, Suite 875, Houston, Texas 77036.
Contact phone 281-652-8396 and
832-490-8203.
Website www.abntvnetwork.com. ABN, celebrating Africans' rich cultural heritage.
What we have in our studio. Now to the second edition of this program, the Vanguard newspaper. Federal government targets food sufficiency through PPP information ministers. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has said that President Bola Tinubu recognized food security as keys to national sovereignty, with the federal government targeting food sufficiency through public, private, and partnership (PPP). You recall that since the assumption of the office of the president, he had taken deliberate steps, including the establishment of the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, which oversees over 800 kilometers of coastlines and inland waterways sustainable for agriculture. Idris reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to working closely with state governments and the private sector to scale up investments in agriculture and achieve self-sufficiency in food production. The ministers, according to his special assistant on media, Rabiu Ibrahim, stated this during an inspection visit to state-of-the-art tilapia fish farm operated by Kanji Aquaculture Resources Limited in New Bassa, as well as the Andropolis Free Trade Zone in Nafenia. Idris described the creation of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economic and Livestock Development by President Bola Tinubu as visionary steps aimed at strengthening the regulatory framework for private sector participation and reducing the importance of fish and dairy products in the country. He noted that with the creation of Ministry of Livestock Development, it was evident that the president recognized food security as keys to national sovereignty. The minister was accompanied by the Minister of the State for Industry, Senator John Owan, the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Innovation Investments, Ambassador Nora Numin, and a representative of the Managing Directors of the Bank of Industry, Ugochukwu Agwaguga. He said, since the assumption of office by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has deliberate steps and including the establishment economic, which oversees over 800 kilometers of coastline and inland waterways sustainable for agriculture. Federal government targets food sufficiency through PPP, says the information ministers. The full details of these stories inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. So another story here with me in the Vanguard newspaper for today. Financing, Commissioner Forum move against AIDS and TB, malarias. As Nigeria faces unveiling AIDS challenges in the wake of funding caused by international agency, the Nigeria AIDS Commissioners Forum has reaffirmed the commitment of state governments to close of critical fund gaps in the fight against AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Speaking in Lagos, the Ekiti State Commissioner for AIDS and Human Services and chairpersons of the Nigeria AIDS Commissioner Forum, Dr. Oyebanji Filani, said Forum remains committed to strengthening states that leadership, fostering intergovernmental collaboration, and ensuring that every Nigerian has access to quality health care. Filani, who spoke on the sidelines of the Global Fund Country Coordinating Mechanism, Nigeria Annual Retreat, emphasized the vital role states plays in sustaining health services amidst declining international aid. There have been funding gaps, but we cover the salaries of health workers, one of the biggest cost drivers, to ensure that care remains accessible to our people. Traditionally, we have had gaps, but states have consistently stepped up to cover them. There are two major cost drivers. One is health workers, and states pay their salaries to ensure people can access care while needed. The second cost driver is commodities. While the federal government and our partners come into play, we have worked hand in hand to minimize these gaps. What we have seen over the last year is a global policy shift which has led to a reduction in external funding for Nigeria. He said, as financing, Commissioner Forum move against AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The full details of these stories inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. Another story here with me in the Vanguard newspaper for today. Conference of Speakers to NAS quicken constitutional review process. Chairman of the Conference of Speakers of the State Legislature of Nigeria, Adebo Ogundoyin, yesterday tasked the National Assembly to expedite actions on the ongoing constitutional review process. This, he said, became imperative to ensure a timely conclusion of the amendments process. Speaking during the 2025 National Assembly Open Week held at the National Assembly complex, Ogundoyin emphasized the importance of strengthening Nigeria's constitutional framework through inclusive and transparency legislature. He said, we respectively urge the National Assembly to sustain the current monitoring on the constitutional review process. Any loss of these monitors, however, unintended and risk dividing the impact and relevance of this reform. Timely conclusion will enable amendments to implement well ahead of the next general elections. He praised the leadership of the National Assembly for preserving the Open Week tradition, a platform he described as a bold commitment to openness and transparency and participatory democracy. Representing speakers from all 36 state houses of assembly, Ogundoyin reaffirmed the commitment of state legislatures to partner with the National Assemblies in advancing constitutional reforms that reflect the ongoing realities of Nigeria society. We fully identify with the vision and openness, accountability, and participatory governance. As a conference, we are ready to collaborate to ensure the review process reflects the yearning of Nigerians. We must continue to uphold the sanctity of legislative authority at all levels and foster constructive synergies in pursuit of national development goals, he said. Financing, security marketing tackles practices. Conference of Speakers, SUNAS, quickened constitutional reviews process. The full details of these stories inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. Another story here which is the last story here with me. Security, Makinde tackles banditry with aircrafts. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State yesterday approved the immediate procurement of 2 aircrafts to curb the menace of illegal mining, kidnapping, and other forms of security threats, particularly at the first heartland of Oyo State. The Commissioner for Information, Prince Dotun Oyelade, disclosed this after the Executive Council meeting. He said the procurement of the aircraft was approved as a part of the government's renewed hope, determination to further secure the state from the influence of bandits and preparation of their activities. According to the commissioner, the council noted that although Oyo State enjoys relative peace compared to other states in the federation, the government would not complain as there are still pockets of kidnapping and banditry occurring in parts of the state. The 2 light aircrafts, DA-4A models, are intelligence, surveillance, and resources aircrafts equipped with sophisticated surveillance gadgets capable for identifying targets from both high and low authorities. The commissioner explained that the preference for these aircrafts rather than the helicopters is due to their lower maintenance costs, excessive spare parts, and the fact that the Nigerian Air Force already operates several of the same models, which allows for synergies. Oyo State, he noted, has the largest landmass in the southern parts of Nigeria and is bigger than 10 African countries with a land areas of 28,454 square kilometers. The 2 aircrafts, which will cost 7,763 million, will effectively support Amotekun and other security agencies in the state to track and eliminate bandits in the hideouts. Oyelade added that half of the southwest security network, Amotekun in Oyo State has the highest numbers of personnel, 2,500, as well as the highest numbers of vehicles and motorcycles. He further noted that the Amotekun officers in Oyo State are the highest paid in the southwest, with the least paid earning 116,000 monthly. Security, Makinde tackles banditry with aircrafts. The full details of these stories inside the Vanguard newspaper for today. And that's what we have for a newspaper review. If you like to follow live and direct on our website page, you can like, share, comment, and subscribe. On our Facebook, you can like and click on Abntv OSUN. Likewise, on our YouTube, you can like, share, and comment. And make sure you subscribe and click on Abntv Nigeria as well. And you can also follow us on our Instagram. You can follow us on Abntv Nigeria, and on our Twitter you can follow us, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click on Abntv OSUN. My name is Kenya Folabi. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Bye for now.
African Broadcasting Network. African Broadcasting Network. It's all about Africa. It's all about motherland. Celebrating rich cultural heritage. ABN, we bring the best. African. It's ABN, celebrating Africa's rich cultural heritage.